Hello, everybody, Wellness Warriors. Hayley Zeidman here. And I wanted to bring in a special guest today. He's actually one of my West Point classmates, former infantry officer, and he is the founder, and he's been on his own wellness journey, and he is the founder of SHT, which is based in Las Vegas, and that stands for SuperHuman Transformation. And so he teaches people about how to live well, how really with an emphasis on the paleo lifestyle, ancestral health, and he teaches about survival. He has all sorts of seminars that are available to us. So I wanted to bring him in here because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And Paul Turina. And wait, did I say it right? Tiarina or Turina?
That's perfect. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
that's really good.
Okay,
I think the
so
Mexican way is like Tijarina, but I don't even say it that way. So
okay, all right. Well, fair enough. So Paul just really has an interesting journey, and I love bringing in men to give us that perspective, because we hear from so many women in this group, but I know we have men in here. We love you guys, and I wanted to bring in somebody who has really walked the walk, did his own journey, figured out his own way, back when kind of parallel to when I was sick as well, back in was it 2008, 2009?
somewhere around there that I hit my worst. So yeah, I think we kind of paralleled each other as we were going through our own figuring out.
And something about Paul is that he used to be at West Point. He used to be extraordinarily fit. And so I just wanted you to take that part, kind of go from there, how you went from somebody who was so fit to somebody who was just really struggling in life, and somebody who thought they knew what to do as far as your own health and thought they were being healthy, to the wake-up call that you received. So Paul, go ahead and just take it away.
Okay, so just kind of tell the story, tell my little
Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Tell us what happened to you.
Well, like we were talking about when we had our little conversation not too long ago, which by the way, Haley's going to be on our podcast, and you can hear that was I thought that was such a great conversation. Um, but it started way before that. I mean, as kids, we didn't have any concept of nutrition. When my parents were together, I feel like we ate a lot better because my dad just intuitively or instinctively like had us eating like real food, vegetables and meats and yogurts and full fat stuff. He just, um, I guess it was common sense to him. But then when my parents divorced in the fourth grade, I moved to Mississippi. My mother was a single parent mother. And then we were just, what do they call it? Latchkey kids. We'd come
Oh
home,
yeah.
we'd make our own food, Pop Tarts for breakfast, waffles, Eggo waffles. Come home at night, made macaroni and cheese. And my mom, when she could, she'd make home cooked meals. But a lot of the time, we were just doing TV dinners and stuff. And again, I don't think we had any idea or concept of that being good or bad. You there? Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's where it started. But my dad was a retired Army officer, and so we've always been exposed to like fitness and him working out all the time. So that was instilled in us very early. We're always just working out and doing things like that. I got into the military, like you said. I was enlisted for a couple of years, then went to the academy, and that's where we met each other. And you and I were both talking about how we were doing these things that we thought were healthy that weren't, but it looked like it was working because we were lean and performed really well. And I think sometimes we can look like we're doing the right thing, but we're healthy in spite of the things that we're doing. I think we talked about that, right? So like at West Point, I was doing like you were, or trying to do the eating every 2 or 3 hours, the non-fat milk, the oatmeal for breakfast, and a lot of protein bars and shakes and things like that. And I looked fine. I performed really well. Got out of the military and just continued that. I was like really big into lifting weights and still was doing the eating every 2 or 3 hours, and had to get my protein shake in after a workout, and was doing oatmeal in the morning and egg whites and low fat. And over time, I just became very metabolically damaged, deranged. So I think it was somewhere around 2007, 2006, maybe 2008. I went in for one of my first checkups since being out of the military, and my doctor said he was surprised I wasn't having a heart attack there on the spot, because he was like, your blood pressure is so high. And I was 270 pounds and pre-diabetic and didn't sleep well. I had horrible digestive issues, skin issues, and it was a disillusion moment for me, because I was like, I guess I wasn't aware of how bad things were. And then to have these diagnoses, I was like, man, I was doing everything I thought was right for my entire life. Again, the low fat, whole grains, eating every 2 or 3 hours, avoiding red meat and all that stuff. And it just didn't serve me at all. So that was my wake up call. I just started to question everything that I did. And that took me down some different rabbit holes.
Wow. So Paul, you spent some time, you get your diagnoses, and so then you spent some time, you say you went vegan, and then you eventually came upon paleo. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So, well, at the time, it was like this perfect storm. My dad's late wife was going through cancer treatment. My girlfriend at the time's mother was just diagnosed with cancer. And so I had this really strong motivation, in addition to figuring out my health, to figure out, hey, what can we do to just mitigate some of these chronic degenerative diseases anyway? And came across a documentary. It was called The Gerson Miracle. I can't remember where I watched it, about the Gerson therapy protocol for cancer treatment. And it's a vegan-based protocol, and I was just 100% bought in. I watched all their videos, got their home kit, like I just completely schooled myself on that. And I was convinced that meat and fat were a problem, So going from doing the wrong thing to something plant-based, like I lost weight, I felt better. First 6 months were great. About a year and a half into it, I started to notice I lost a little muscle mass. I was tired all the time. I got worse digestive issues and worse skin issues. And I was following it to a T based on what I knew at the time. If I had it to do over again, I know now how to be a smarter vegan, and I actually coach some vegans on how to be smart vegans if I can't convert them to something animal based. But anyway, so then I had another realization. I was like, maybe this isn't the full story, and that's when I came across some ancestral health information. At the time, I don't think the term paleo was even out there. I did come across the Weston A. Price Foundation, because you're familiar with them.
Oh yeah. That's. Anytime I find out a woman is pregnant, I send them the link.
Yeah.
I say, look, you got to do this. Like, there's no negotiating.
Such a great resource. And I don't like the paleo word. To us, it's like a cuss word, right? Because it's like paleo is almost like saying you're keto or saying you're low carb. And we like to not have an identity like that, because it restricts, what you can experiment with for the most part. So, but anyway, I found the work of Weston A. Price. That just made a lot of sense to me. Like, it was just like, this is, the ancestral perspective. What did our ancestors eat? Trying to mimic some kind of an ancestral lifestyle. That really made a lot of sense to me. So read everything I can get my hands on from the Weston A. Price Foundation. Rob Wolf. I was actually in contact with Rob Wolf over some emails, because he had been involved with this organization called MoveNat, which stands for Move Natural. It's this natural movement methodology, and they would hold these seminars all over the country. And I went to a couple of workshops, and I was just enamored with MoveNat. And then they said that they had this nutrition guy that helped them put together this ancestral diet. And that's when I saw Rob Wolf's name. And so I reached out to him, and he was awesome. He was very generous with his time. We communicated a little bit, and then he came out with this book, The Paleo Solution. So, so that's was my first introduction into ancestral health. I brought back in meat, and that's when things really, really got great. Like, I just continued to lose weight, health markers improved, felt better, put back on my muscle. And then I was like, you know what? I want to teach other people how to do this. I was working with some friends and family members, and there was nothing back then. Like today, there's a lot of ancestral health education methodologies and certs and things like that. But at the time, I couldn't find anything that taught anything beyond like the standard food pyramid stuff. But there was this one organization called the Nutritional Therapy Association, and they were based in Weston A. Price's teachings. And so I got on a little info call with them, and they had a distance course kicking off in Vegas. And I just burned all my bridges with what I was doing before, moved to Vegas to just start over and immersed myself in that course. And since then, have just been, living this life of trying to optimize my health and share as much as I can with the people that I work with, and trying to build a community in the process, because as you know, it's very important to have the support of other people going through a similar situation. I think that helps you stick with it, so that's really what we're trying to do here, is build something.
Absolutely. Because so many people in our life can be anti the changes that we're making, whether it's a spouse that feels threatened, or friends that are threatened or just don't believe in it, or, you know, for whatever reason, or family members. I know I definitely experienced that on my journey, and a community would have been tremendously helpful. And that's
For sure.
part of the reason why I've created this community as well, just to share the journey, but also to encourage others to get on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty phenomenal that you took the step, because it sounds like, well, what do you think? Do you think you could have continued in your old life doing what you were doing before, or you were just so, you know, do you think the changes you made were enough, but you just decided that helping people was paramount? How did you come to that realization that this was the right path for you?
Oh, to like develop a practice and stuff?
Yeah.
I've just always cared about people. I want to help people. And I'm like, I was so freaking lost. And this was such a, you know, revelation, breath of fresh air. I've always been a rebel and a rocker kind of guy anyway. So I love going against the mainstream conventional wisdom. So I don't know. I just felt like I was doing insurance. I hated selling insurance. I was miserable. And I found that with this gift of health, all of a sudden possibilities like opened up, or I realized that I wasn't happy. And that's one thing that I think happens for a lot of people, is when they get healthy, all of a sudden their whole life changes, because it's like, wow, like I didn't know that I could feel this way, and I'm not happy with this, and I'm not happy with certain aspects of my life. And it's like, people have no idea how much their life will change when they get healthy, because they have an awakening in a lot of situations, you know? So that's kind of what happened. I just had this awakening. I was like, man, I'm like a completely different person now, and I want to share this with other people. So
well, that makes sense. I mean, you were a leader before, and you want to lead people in your health journey. That it makes perfect sense. But you know, but not everybody is called to do that, right? So some people, you know, the vast majority of people just, you know, get healthy, and that's enough. But I love that you've just taken it so much further.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, when they have this awakening, you know, they find their passion, whatever that is, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's like when you have the gift of health, everything gets better. And I mean, your passion could be in a completely different area, but health facilitates you being better at whatever it is that you're doing. You know, you show up to life different and better in every situation.
Absolutely. And I feel like you were always interested in health, right? That's always been, you know, between the you know, doing the shakes, you were trying to be healthy.
Right.
But
yeah, just like you were. Like, we were trying to do the right thing. And I look at what most people want to be happy. Most people want to be in a body that they're happy and comfortable with. And most people want to be perceived by other people as looking okay, whatever that means. I know that's a very subjective, relative thing, but I don't think anybody wants to be miserable and wants to have such a hard time with all this stuff. And everyone is trying to do their version of the right thing. It's just that we have so much misinformation out there. It's unbelievably confusing.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like you got the USDA, FDA, all the associations in partnership, you know, American Heart Association, Cancer Society, and all that, putting out their version of a message. You've got, you know, you have access to an infinite amount of information online. So you can Google like nutrition information, but who knows what you're going to get from that. And then you have nutrition experts, you know, on Instagram and Facebook. And it's just like, there's so much. It's hard for people to figure out what the truth is. And then the worst is this controversy or polar opposites with the vegan and animal based. You know, so the vegan argument makes a lot of sense. It sounds nice. It sounds pretty, you know, like freaking just raise plants, don't hurt animals. And like, but it's not the right argument. There's not a lot of validity behind it once you start to educate yourself on all of it. But to a normal person who doesn't have time to sit here and learn this stuff all day, every day, it's all very confusing and overwhelming. And it's like, what the heck do I do? You know?
It is. And that is an amazing point. I mean, you can read different authors, you know, I was just noticing there's a lot of keto bashing on Instagram right now that I keep hearing about, because people will message me, hey, what's up with this? What's up with this? And, you know, so it is. I mean, that's just to the point that, you know, I've been doing, you know, in and out of ketosis for 6 years now. You know, once during my best pregnancy that I ever had, I mean, during my best pregnancy I ever had was a mostly keto, definitely paleo pregnancy. And, and so, you know, I can just share what I know, and, you know, there is trial and error, but that's, you know, it is important that you do. find somebody that resonates with you.
Yeah, it's tricky because you can, like I did when I first went vegan, you can go down the wrong path. You can read a book and it sounds like this is the way to do it. I'm lucky that I found what I think happens though is the truth percolates to the surface eventually. So, what you're doing is either going to give you the results that you want or feedback that it's not the right thing for you at some point, but it's just, you have to have a very open mind. And I think one of the biggest realizations I had early on was that if my health is not moving in a better direction, if my body composition isn't, what I think it should be, if I'm having all these symptoms, then I have to consider the possibility that some of what I think is healthy is not healthy. And that was a hard thing, because I was married to the Muscle and Fitness Flex magazine, eating every 2 or 3 hours, protein shakes, chicken and rice, like I was married to that. And so it took a very humble approach to just revamp my education around stuff, So I think one really good piece of advice is, this is why we don't like to call ourselves paleo or keto or anything, because it's like you want to learn, if you're a true real foodie or if you're a true health fanatic, like you want to learn all these different perspectives and then try to pull the truths from all these different perspectives and definitely make sure that it makes sense,
I love that. I love how open it is. So just so everybody else knows, because they've heard my argument against being a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about veganism that you think is wrong?
Nutritional deficiency and toxicity built up over a lifetime. So if you think about what's the purpose of eating food? That's a really good question. I ask my clients all the time when they first come in here, I say, what's the point? Why are we eating? Why are we eating food? Think about it. What is the point? Everybody says energy initially, right? And there's you do get energy from food. Ideally, we're trying to get the body to make energy in a specific way. We're trying to train the body how to be metabolically flexible and use fat for fuel. Doesn't mean we have to be low carb or keto. It just means that's one of our focuses, right? We have some rules with that. But then what else is food doing for us? It's think about it. What's the point, right? So if I look at this body, like this, and everything that happens in the body, where does that come from? It doesn't come from the air that I breathe. It doesn't come from the water I drink. This, literally, we've heard it most of our lives, is super cliche, but we are what we eat. This body is always dying and rebuilding itself. I mean, we've all probably heard the digestive system renews itself once every 7 to 10 days, the whole body, maybe 7 to 10 years. So we're constantly dying and replenishing ourselves. So it's very dynamic and fluid. So where does this come from? It comes from the food that we eat. So when you think about how our digestive system works and the evolution of the human species, it's very clear that animal foods provided this huge boost in nutrients and a different source of energy. We were naturally selected to assimilate foods that were more nutrient dense and calorically dense. That's how we advanced as a species. Yeah. And most nutrient dense and calorically dense foods are going to be animal foods and traditional fats. And if I'm thinking about, again, coming back to this whole idea, what's the purpose of eating food? Well, a big purpose of it is to build this body. And so what do I need to eat to build this body? Well, the things that this body's made of. Why do we call vitamins and minerals and nutrients? It's because we know that that's what the body needs. And if you go to your doctor and you're low in D, what does he say to do? He says, take vitamin D. If you're low in magnesium, he says, take magnesium, right? So it's why can't we take that same advice, bigger picture macro, right? It's if I want muscle, the best thing for me to eat is muscle. If I want skin and cartilage and bone and nails and hair, the best thing for me to do is eat an animal nose to tail, because that's where the most bang for buck is going to come from nutrients. Now, if I eat nothing but celery and greens, how does my body take celery and greens and turn that into this? It's
a lot more work.
There's a lot of conversion, a lot of work. Some people can do it better than others. And that's why we see some people can do really well and thrive on a vegan diet, but most people don't, so, and the body, the digestive system is very flexible and adaptive. That's what's really cool about where we're at in our evolution, is that we have this hybrid digestive system that can take, look, people are living off of Cheetos and sodas. Somehow the body is able to pull what it needs from those things. But the question is, if I can consume anything, processed food, plant-based food, and like, what's the best thing for me to consume? If I'm going to eat, if I understand that I'm eating to build this body and to make energy in a certain way, what's the best thing for me to eat? And animal foods have to be a priority. I mean, it's not that they have to be the majority. You know, we have plenty of people in our community that are a little bit of chicken, eggs, and fish, and then a lot of plant matter. And then we got people like myself that we just like, I adore animal foods. Like, I can't get enough of it, you know, and everything in between. But what we do say is that animal foods need to be a priority because of the nutritional value, for sure. I mean, you're going to miss, you have to be really smart to be a good vegan, but it's, again, you got to take this ideology out of it. You have to take the moral part of it out of it. Because I'm not saying not have morals, but it's like you have to identify with what is the best thing for my health, not what do I think is nicer to an animal. You know what I mean? If I tell, sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. I think it's great.
If I have a pet, let's say I got a pet lion or a pet tiger, right? And because I'm morally conscious, right? I'm like, you know what? I don't want my tiger killing animals. Okay, I'm gonna make my tiger a vegan because that's what's best for the planet. I'm gonna kill the tiger because the tiger's an obligate carnivore. Yeah. And if I do that for myself, it's like I need to figure out what's the best thing for me to do to show up to my life in my best potential, and that includes eating animal foods. Yeah, and then if you're in this realm of you know, an omnivorous way of eating, and you've learned how to be a real foodie and eat real food, then you can start educating yourself on all these different topics, you know, like sustainability and really like what's best for the planet. And it's a really fascinating realm to get into. But I always tell people, if you're going to call yourself a real foodie, you need to experiment and educate yourself on all sides. And if you do that with an open mind, then it's absolutely clear that our evolutionary past and our digestive system clearly tell us what we're supposed to eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you a big advocate of wild caught fish as well?
Well, theoretically, like, we know it should be something very, you know, as part of it more regularly probably, but most of us probably don't get enough fish. You know, it's just not as convenient. We're not as familiar with it, you know. So the recommendation we make is usually like try to get like maybe a pound of fish a week. But most of us probably eat way more just red meat and pork and poultry and stuff like that. Eggs.
Gotcha.
What about you?
Well, I eat a can of sardines, wild caught sardines a day. Like, it's,
nice. Yeah. I do a can of sardines a week at least. Yeah.
It's well, it's become a pillar of my lifestyle just because of you know, studying Dr. Jack Cruz. He's a big advocate of, you know, of having DHA naturally. Yeah. And then and that's what builds your brain. And so not doing it via a pill, and, you know, brain health is a big deal. My family had several relatives have problems with Alzheimer's. So I just want to do it preventatively, make sure that I have those building blocks. Also, I've been breastfeeding for over 9 years, different kids. So it's a huge thing. You pass that on to your kids via milk. So for me, I you know, I know that's a lot, but still it's one of my foundations. So it's something I just do. I treat it like a supplement. I mean, it's not good. It's there's better ones. There's, you know, what is it?
Wild
Planet. Yeah, that's the good one. The Trader Joe's is nasty.
Yeah. I haven't had those, but I do love the Wild Planet and the Bellas. I'll try to get a can of those in a week.
Yeah, those are tasty. They're good. I mean, for fish, you know, they still smell. But okay, so tell us about what, you know, you've made this whole program where you do these survival classes, you teach people how to ground, teach people how to go outdoors, you teach people how to eat real food. Tell us just the general philosophy, and what do you feel like is most important about that? If somebody was just watching this, they want to take some nuggets away from, you know, what you do.
Well, like we were talking before, basically what's happened is, as I've learned to optimize my health, everything that I feel like is some useful information, I try to share it with my clients in my community. So I have a private practice where I see clients individually, you know, usually 2 or 3 in a day. And then we do group seminars, and we have this really cool online community platform. I love it. Like, it's like, so I told you earlier, like, we pulled out of Facebook. I used to have a really big Facebook group, and I just got tired of the drama and tired of the advertising. And I just couldn't stand everything that it stood for, you know. And we're trying to get people to get off of their devices as much as possible, although ours is, you know, it's still online. But it's dedicated towards health. But anyway, as I've learned to optimize my health, anything that I feel like is going to be useful, I'll share it with my clients, and then I'll put together a protocol, and then I'll do as much research and experimentation as I can on that topic, test it out on myself, and after I figure out what works, and I think one of our guiding principles is simplicity and elegance, and trying to make this work in a modern lifestyle. So you have all these different health things that there's this optimal epitome way of doing things. And then there's the reality of like, okay, well, I'm a mother, I have a family, I have a career, you have to integrate it with modern life. And so, we're all about taking advantage of modern conveniences. But anyway, the foundations we've kind of settled on, real food is a great place to start for most people. It gives you really a lot of bang for buck, as far as result. Having some natural movement in place. I like something CrossFit-ish, that teaches a lot of different movement modalities and time domains and stuff like that. And then sleep is huge. Those are the big three.
Yes.
So it's like, I would say fitness, food, sleep, meditation, I think is ultra important, but it's not something a lot of people are interested in or even open to until they start to get clean with the food and the sleep and stuff, because all of a sudden, like I said, that people have an awakening, and then they're like, well, what else can I do here?
Yes.
So those are our big ones. It's like, and fitness, I don't teach, I can train people, but like the majority of what we teach is going to be nutrition, sleep, and mindfulness. And then we try to facilitate classes. So the survival thing you're talking about, I'm not teaching it. I got a group from California coming over, doing a 2-day workshop. We have a 1-day survival class. The second day is an urban disaster preparedness thing. So I'm just trying to facilitate as much useful stuff for my people as I can, and just always thinking in terms of what is the need to know, like what is the most important stuff for us to take away from this. And so that's how we've settled on our foundations of real food, sleep, mindfulness, grounding and being outdoors, and then minimalism. We call it simplicity and elegance. Those are a big one. We do a natural solutions month every month where we kind of teach people about how to choose proper soaps, shampoos, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
that's really important about everything that you're doing. I mean, it does encompass the way I teach it. Get the junk out. So that's where you do the natural solutions, and then put in some of these good inputs. And I mean, all the things, meditation, that all needs to happen. Getting outside, getting that natural sun. Do you teach people how to be in the sun?
Yeah, I mean, starting out, for sleep, so I think some people are kind of hesitant to get in the sun, because of they've heard all kinds of crazy stuff about that, right? So we initially just make an argument for just being outside in brightness, so you don't have to have direct sun exposure to get the benefits of setting your circadian rhythms by being exposed to the brightness of the sun, right? So I can be under the shade of a tree, or I can be under the shade of an awning outside, but as long as I'm getting a lot of brightness, then I'm helping my body with my sleep patterns and circadian rhythms. But then, so that's easy for people to kind of comprehend and go for. And then eventually we talk about the benefits of sun exposure and building up a tolerance and being out in the sun as much as possible, or as much as you feel comfortable. We usually say the recommendation is, especially during the summer months, at least 3 days a week of 15 minutes of exposed skin, like, your arms and legs. But of course, building up to that if you have really fair skin. So, and there's so many benefits, like, being outside, like being outside, the brightness, like, you'll notice on days when you're outside a lot, like you just sleep better that night.
Yes.
The sun, I mean, there's a reason we feel like we look better with a tan, because I think that's the way we're meant to be, but it's good for you too. So there's all kinds of health promoting benefits that come from being in the direct sunlight.
Definitely. Specifically the vitamin D production, which is associated with, immune health, all sorts of, I think there's over 300 health benefits plus from getting good levels of vitamin D. What else? There's the endorphin release.
There's things we probably don't even know. It's like, reductionist thinking is like, so when I get the benefit of sun exposure is vitamin D, right? But there's so much happening that we don't understand. It's like saying, what's healthy about eating a vegetable? Is it the fiber? I don't know if it's the fiber. It's just the vegetable. It's a real food. So what's healthy about being out in the sun? I mean, there's a bunch of things, but it's just, we've co-evolved with the sun, being outdoors. Like, it's a part of who we're meant to be,
Well, I've even heard theories about how our mitochondria developed from bacteria that were bathed in red light all day,
Yep.
back millions of years ago. So, red light is essential, and just that sunlight, the full spectrum of the sunlight is
Yep.
essential to our health. And so
the light and the radiation from it, the warmth, like you're saying, because with the light therapy, you can actually create more mitochondria. So evidently it was something that's really good for us, and punctual. But it's like a lot of other things too. It doesn't mean the more you get, the better. It means like we need the ebb and flow of being out and being in, and of course, too much sun can be damaging, sunburn and stuff like that. But yeah, sunburn's bad. Don't spend your whole day out there, especially if you're in Las Vegas. Yeah.
But it is part of my routine. I make it a priority for me because I just feel so much better when I'm out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That endorphin release, the nitric oxide, but also I love about what you said. There are questions in science. Science is only as good as the questions that we can ask, right? There are so many benefits to these practices that we probably can't even fathom, right?
Yeah. It's just like, we try to have this perspective of combining ancestral health with modern science and what we can learn from all the holistic health hotshots and experts, but it's trying to mimic this ancestral lifestyle. Just imagine, what did our ancestors do before modernization? And probably like most of what they did was healthy because it kind of created who we are. But then we can also learn a lot from science and blend those two things together and just constantly experiment.
Absolutely. So do you teach fasting as well?
Yeah, we have every year we have a fasting progression. Every year we have we called it a carnivore progression, but now we're calling it FABO, flexible animal-based omnivore. So next month, actually, we're having a fasting progression. We'll do 6 weeks where we kind of ease people into different fasting protocols and types of fasts and durations and stuff. We'll finish that. We'll all try a 3 to 5 day fast at the end of it, which is pretty easy for most people at that point. So yeah, love space, love natural space without forcing it. I think most people probably do best on 1 or 2 meals in a day. How many meals do you eat in a day?
Well,
you breastfeed?
Yeah, no, well, normally 2. So I normally have my first meal around 9 and then my last one around 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm learning about the benefits of switching it up. So some days I only do 1. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there would be very few days where I would push it past 4 o'clock like that. That would, I'm just so used to doing it this way. But you know what? There's benefits to that, keeping your body on its toes.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean eat at 1 a.m. That's a disaster. But it does, it is, there's value in not being so rigid because our ancestors weren't always able to time out their meals, right? They ate when food was available.
They could when they could. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then, we have the convenience of grocery stores, 365 days a year, 24/7. So it's like we have access to everything that we could possibly want. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to like just pay attention to our intuition too. Like you're saying, like some days if you feel like eating another meal, have another meal. And days you don't. Some days you feel like having more fruit and starch, and some days you don't. It's just really paying attention to how things make you feel and constantly making yourself go through little experiments.
I love that.
It's fun and interesting,
So what's the typical outcome for a person that comes into your program?
You mean like what? Like results?
Yeah, like results. So somebody comes into your space, or just tell us about your program. Do they come into your community?
Yeah.
How does it go?
A lot of clients find me on Google. So we have pretty good reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp. So that's where a lot of my private clients come to me, and then that's true health coaching. Like it's really focused on them. For years, what I feel like what I did was I just taught. Like I would have people come in here and I would teach them. And now it's a very client-centered focus. So it's really just about pulling the answers out of them and seeing where they're at and meeting them where they feel capable. And so the private sessions are like really magical and powerful. I absolutely love it. And I just take it really serious. I'm always in coaching courses and just trying to learn how to be a better coach, versus just telling people what to do. But then we have seminars. So we do group seminars. I stream all of them live through Crowdcast, and those get recorded. So we have seminars usually once every couple of weeks, and then I have this online community, which is it's at community.superhumantransformation.com. You pay a monthly fee. When you're in there, you have access to all of our courses all year. Everything that we record, we put into the community as a course. And then it's also like our own little Facebook, because you can post and comment and ask questions. And we have a great recipe index there. Anything and everything that we teach or that we find valuable, like we put it in there as a resource, because this thing, we own it. And so there's an app for the phone. It's really cool. But people come to us, Google private clients. People come to us to group seminars. And then a lot of people are in that little community. We actually just started it last year, but it's great.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So on Google, they would just be looking for like health coaching, Las Vegas, or?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to imagine, what are people looking for? Like, if people are looking to feel better, like, what would I look for? I'd probably look for a nutritionist or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Who knows what you pull up? I mean, you probably pull up a lot of registered dietitians, which some are okay because they've schooled themselves in ancestral health, but a lot of them are USDA My Plate guidelines, you know? So, but I'm sure people are probably looking for nutrition or holistic nutrition or something like that. And then they stumble their way in here, and I just blow their minds, because I tell them that they can do all these things that they've been told they can't do for the most of their life, you know. And I tell them that it's actually good to eat red meat, and it's actually okay not to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Actually, it's really beneficial not to eat every 2 or 3 hours, you know. And I mean, it's all so different from what people are used to, and at the same time, it gets results. Like, people come out of here, and within 3 months, they've lost a tremendous amount of weight. All their health markers are improved. You know, we have a different blood work screenings we recommend people get before and after, DexaFit scans. I have a symptom assessment we put people through before and after, and they can see how their symptoms improve. So it's like the proof is in. You can argue all you want, like theoretically, the proof is in, like, when you feel it, you know?
Absolutely. Do you do anything with gut health now that you're mentioning those tests?
I don't have any tests. Now, if you go see a functional medicine doctor, that's part of the workup, you know? So I don't have anything to test it, but I know there's a lot of emphasis on gut health, and what I found is that it's interesting, but it doesn't change what you have to do. And what you have to do just so happens to be good, not just for gut health, but brain health and body health. You know, it's like, I don't do anything in particular for gut health, because eating real food is good for gut health in general, you know. But some people like to focus on that as a way to communicate the information that it all comes back to, which is eating real food, training your body to be metabolically flexible, experimenting to see what works for you, learning how to eliminate foods and bring them back in so you can see which things are triggering symptoms for you. So, yeah.
Oh, I can see that. Okay. So yeah, that is usually under the scope of gut health, but it sounds like you're completely addressing that.
Yeah. I think, again, like, different people have different ways of, it's their area, you know, that they like to focus on. What I found is that it all comes back to, like, you still have to do the same things every day. You know, you got to get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, give yourself a certain amount of sleep, get sun every day, move most days, eat real food. And we'd recommend the way that we recommend eating real food, but eating for nutrients, training the body how to be metabolically flexible. And if you do all that, and you're paying attention to how you feel and how things, you know, just paying attention, even within the real food realm. I mean, some people don't do good on nightshades. Some people don't do good on high oxalate foods, you know. So it's like, even within the real food realm, we have to find what works for us as individuals. And that's where you have to constantly experiment. And when you do that, you optimize your personal way of doing things. And that's good for your gut. It's good for everything.
Absolutely. We're all an experiment of one. I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Well, I am going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for doing this for the Wellness Warriors, and for your time. Is there anything else, any parting thoughts that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, they're under good hands if they're with you. So I'm assuming this is going in your group. So they're already on the right path. So that's great. You know, if you're completely lost out there, I don't know if this will show up to people that aren't a part of your group. Like, it's just, you got to find health to find yourself. You know, when you find health, everything about your life will get better. So it's the best investment of your time and energy. You know, like, a lot of people are so used to being givers and caretakers, and they have a hard time, like, saying, well, I need to take this time to do this for me. But in reality, being selfish with your health is actually very selfless because it makes you better for everything that you care about. So making your health a priority is the best thing that you can do for your life. And to do that, you got to find real food. You got to sleep. You got to do the things that we're teaching and talking about, because that's where your life will really change.
Absolutely. It makes everything better. Where can people find you?
So website is superhumantransformation.com. On Instagram and Facebook, it's at Superhuman Transformation, and then my personal one is at Paul C. Torina. And we're pretty active on Instagram. We have a great newsletter. If you go to our website, superhumantransformation.com, you can subscribe to our newsletter. We try to put out really useful free stuff all the time. Anything that we do YouTube video wise, we'll send out. And we have a podcast. So we are the SHT, and that's pretty awesome. I never look at statistics, but I was like, oh wow, we had like 80,000 downloads. And I was like, man, that's pretty neat. I know it's not anything compared to some of the hot shots out there, but so it depends on how you like to get your information. If you're YouTube, we got a YouTube channel. If you like social media, we're there. And then we export all our videos into audio and put it on our podcast.
Okay, I know I was wrapping it up, but tell us about the origins of the SHT.
Oh,
that's a fun story.
Three-letter abbreviation.
Yeah.
So the SHT came before the word, because early on, I don't know why I had this in my mind, but we had gone to a couple of CrossFit games, and I'm noticing everybody's shirts, and some shirts look really cool, and I'm just fascinated with like art and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I want to have a shirt that says I am the SHT, because it looks like shit, but it's not shit, And I want to be able to say, I am the SHT, we are the SHT, something like that. And so then we were like, okay, so what words can we put with that will sound like it's a health organization, And since we teach all these different foundations, a buddy of mine said Superhuman Transformation. At first I was like, well, that sounds kind of presumptuous, like superhuman, but I mean, I feel like it fits now. It's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, compared to the way we used to feel, definitely superhuman.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
All right. Let's stay in touch.
Okay. Be well.
Bye.